On June 12, 2025, a day that began like any other, Air India flight AI-171 prepared for its journey from Ahmedabad to London with a scheduled stop in Delhi. The aircraft, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner with the registration VTANB, was a familiar workhorse in the airline's international fleet. With 230 passengers and 12 crew members on board, the flight was nearly at full capacity, carrying families, business travelers and tourists. The pre-flight checks were completed, the cabin was secured, and at 13:39 Indian Standard Time, the powerful engines roared to life, lifting the modern jet into the skies over Gujarat. For those on board and for the air traffic controllers watching below, everything appeared perfectly normal. The illusion of a routine departure was shattered in a matter of moments. Just after takeoff, as the Dreamliner climbed to an altitude of only 600 feet, a critical emergency unfolded. The pilots, in a calm but urgent tone, transmitted a Mayday distress call, reporting a catastrophic loss of thrust and power from both engines. This was a scenario that pilots train for but hope to never encounter. A dual-engine failure so close to the ground, leaving them with minimal altitude and almost no time to react. The aircraft, deprived of its essential propulsion, could no longer maintain its climb and began an unstoppable descent back toward the densely populated city it had just left. The struggle in the cockpit was brief and desperate. The pilots fought to guide the crippled jet toward a safer landing area, but the loss of altitude was too rapid. The aircraft plunged into the Meghani Nagar area of Ahmedabad, crashing directly into a hostel block for students of the nearby BJ Medical College. The impact was devastating, triggering a massive fireball that sent a column of thick black smoke billowing into the sky, visible for kilometers around. The crash transformed a bustling urban neighborhood into a scene of unimaginable horror, scattering flaming wreckage and debris across a wide area and causing immediate chaos on the ground. The crash of AI-171 was not just a technical failure, it was a violent intrusion into the lives of hundreds of people. The aircraft involved was a 10-year-old Boeing 787-8, delivered to Air India in 2015. According to records, it had undergone a maintenance check just 2 days before the fatal flight and was declared fully airworthy. However, this clean bill of health would soon come under intense scrutiny. The tragedy marked the first ever fatal crash involving the technologically advanced Boeing 787 Dreamliner, sending shockwaves through an industry that had come to see the aircraft as a symbol of modern aviation safety and reliability. The aftermath of the crash revealed a staggering human toll, making it the deadliest air disaster in India since 1996. Of the 242 individuals on board the aircraft, an almost unbelievable 241 perished. The victims included 230 passengers and the entire 12-person crew, who battled to save the plane until the final second. The passenger manifest painted a grim picture of the international nature of the flight, with victims from multiple countries. Media group, airport departure boards showing international flights, images of diverse passengers boarding international flight at stock at a distribute_equally. 169 were Indian citizens, 53 were from the United Kingdom, 7 were from Portugal, and 1 was Canadian. Among the deceased was a former Chief Minister of Gujarat, a detail that underscored the profound impact of the loss on the local community and the nation. Miraculously, amidst the widespread devastation, there was a sole survivor. Vishwaskumar Ramesh, a British national seated in seat 11A, was thrown from the fuselage upon impact. He was found alive in the wreckage, suffering from severe burns and multiple fractures, but clinging to life. His incredible survival became a focal point of media attention, a sliver of hope in an otherwise dark and tragic event. His story stands as a testament to the unpredictable nature of such disasters, where survival can depend on the sheer randomness of physics and fortune. For the families of the 241 who did not survive, the news brought only inconsolable grief. The tragedy was not confined to the aircraft. As the Dreamliner crashed into the student hostel, it claimed more lives on the ground, compounding the horror. At least 19 people, including students and staff from BJ Medical College, were killed in the impact and the subsequent fire. More than 60 others on the ground sustained injuries, ranging from minor to critical. The crash site became a chaotic scene of rescue and recovery as first responders worked tirelessly to pull victims from the smoldering ruins of both the plane and the building, a task made perilous by the unstable structure and the ongoing fire. The response from Air India and government authorities was met with criticism from grieving families, who felt the communication was slow and impersonal. In the face of immense public pressure, Air India's chairman, N. Chandrasekaran, acknowledged the need for a comprehensive safety overhaul within the airline. For the families, however, corporate statements provided little comfort. They were left to navigate a painful process of identifying loved ones and seeking answers about why their relatives, who had boarded a routine flight, would never return home. The human cost was immense, measured not just in lives lost, but in the shattered families and communities left behind. As rescue efforts transitioned to recovery and investigation, the focus shifted to a critical question: what caused a state-of-the-art aircraft to fall from the sky? India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, or AAIB, immediately took charge of the probe, receiving assistance from international bodies, including the US National Transportation Safety Board, and experts from Boeing. The investigation's first priority was to locate the aircraft's two black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. These crucial devices were recovered from the wreckage within 28 hours and transported to a lab in India for analysis, holding the key to unlocking the flight's final moments. Preliminary findings from the cockpit voice recorder painted a harrowing picture of the crew's final struggle. The audio revealed confusion and a desperate fight to regain control as the pilots tried to deploy emergency systems. Despite their efforts, these systems failed to stabilize the aircraft. The flight data recorder confirmed the rapid loss of power and the steep, unrecoverable descent. Investigators began exploring several theories for the catastrophic failure. The leading possibilities included media group, damaged aircraft engines at crash site, investigators examining jet engine wreckage, close-up of aircraft engine failure evidence at stock at distribute_equally, a rare and simultaneous dual-engine failure, a complete electrical or hydraulic system breakdown, or a critical error in the configuration of the wing's flaps or slats during takeoff. The possibility of fuel contamination was also on the table. The investigation also brought the aircraft's recent history under a microscope. While its last major maintenance check 2 days prior had cleared it for flight, reports emerged of technical glitches on its previous journey. Passengers from that flight had noted media group, maintenance crew working on aircraft before flight, mechanics performing pre-flight checks on Air India plane, passengers boarding aircraft with visible maintenance activity at its stock at distribute_equally, flickering cabin lights, a malfunctioning in-flight entertainment system, and issues with cabin pressure. A video recorded by a passenger, which later circulated online, seemed to corroborate these system errors, raising questions about whether these were symptoms of a deeper, unaddressed problem. The pilots' union added another layer of concern, revealing they had previously filed official complaints about crew fatigue and demanding schedules at Air India. In an unexpected turn, Union Minister Muralidhar Mohal confirmed that sabotage was also being investigated as a potential cause, although it was considered one of several possibilities. Authorities began reviewing CCTV footage from the airport as part of this line of inquiry. The combination of potential technical failure, previous maintenance flags, and crew concerns created a complex puzzle for investigators. The public, the victims' families, and the entire aviation industry awaited the final report, hoping for clear answers that could prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again and provide some measure of closure. The immediate response from regulatory bodies was swift and decisive. In a move to ensure public safety, India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation ordered the temporary grounding of Air India's entire fleet of 33 Boeing 787 Dreamliners pending thorough inspections. This grounding sent a ripple effect across the industry, as other airlines operating the same aircraft model began conducting voluntary checks on their own fleets. The DGCA also launched a special audit of Air India's maintenance records and a comprehensive review of its pilot training protocols, particularly for handling emergency scenarios like the one faced by the crew of AI-171. This intense scrutiny signaled a zero-tolerance approach to any potential safety lapses. The crash placed both Air India and Boeing under a harsh international spotlight. For Boeing, the incident renewed concerns about its manufacturing and quality control processes, which were still being questioned following the earlier 737 MAX disasters. The company's stock price fell nearly 9% in pre-market trading immediately after the crash, and it scaled back its presence at the prestigious Paris Air Show. For Air India, the tragedy raised serious questions about its operational and maintenance standards. In response to the crisis, a UK-based law firm announced it was representing victims' families in potential legal action, focusing on whether Boeing had prior knowledge of potential engine issues and if Air India's crew was adequately trained for such a catastrophic failure. The financial and legal ramifications of the crash are expected to be enormous. Insurance analysts projected that the incident would likely result in a record-breaking compensation payout for an air disaster in India, reflecting the high number of casualties both on the plane and on the ground. The Indian government formed a high-powered committee, led by the Union Home Secretary, to oversee the investigation and ensure transparency, with a final report promised within 3 months. These actions from governments, corporations, and legal teams underscored the gravity of the event and the collective demand for accountability and reform across the board. Ultimately, the crash of Air India flight AI-171 serves as a profound and tragic wake-up call for both Indian and global aviation. For India's rapidly expanding airline industry, it highlights the critical need to ensure that safety standards and operational oversight keep pace with growth. For the global aviation community, it is a stark reminder that even the most technologically advanced aircraft are vulnerable to failure, and that relentless vigilance in maintenance, training, and regulation is non-negotiable. The lessons learned from this disaster must lead to tangible improvements in safety protocols worldwide, ensuring that the 260 lives lost on that fateful day in Ahmedabad were not lost in vain.